Okay.
I have Angry Birds in Space. I got the premium edition.
What's the premium edition?
It doesn't record everything you do for advertising purposes.
Wait, so... Oh, is there a free version?
Yeah.
Oh.
The free one like records your like keystrokes and a bunch of things and sell it to advertising companies.
It records your keystrokes?
Yep, and your phone calls and your text messages and everything. And then uses that data for... That's why Angry Birds has been free the whole time, is because they use it as an advertising tool. They record your text messages, your phone calls, your messages, everything.
So that's only if Angry Birds is running in the background?
No. As soon as you download it and install it, it has... Have you ever done the check permission thing? When you check the permissions of it? Yeah. The permissions are like read incoming calls, read text messages, record, like all that stuff.
Oh, shit. So there's...
Premium version.
So any games on my iTouch could recorded everything that I've done on my iTouch?
That sounds really bad now. You're saying it like that?
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to TTSki Tutorials, and this is FPS 1.37. So in our last episode, we learned how to randomize the course of the enemy as it's trying to find the player. So this moved all the enemies out in sort of like a crowd-like formation, but the only problem so far is the enemies can still pass right through each other. So that's what we're going to be fixing in today's episode, and we're going to be doing that by, first of all, making it so that when the enemies do go into each other, they just move away from each other. And then also they're going to slow down the more they come in contact with other enemies, and this is going to add a bit of a congestion effect. As enemies are going into small hallways, they're all going to crowd up next to each other, and then the ones in front are going to move away first, and then they're going to kind of move through that way in a realistic sense. So yeah, let's get started and learn how to do that in the code. Alright, so we're going to be adding 4 variables to our code today, and all of them are basically just going to be managing the speed of the enemy. And these are going to work with the variable that we already have in place, which is current move speed. So remember, I believe it was like 2 episodes ago, I was talking about how we're going to add current move speed as opposed to just plain old move speed. And that is why we're going to be going over that in this episode. So the first variable is max move speed. So this is going to be the fastest amount that the enemy can move. And then we have min move speed, which is the minimum amount of, or the minimum speed that the enemy can move. And then we have speed recover and speed damage. So what's going to happen is when the enemy comes in contact with another enemy, it is going to decrease its current move speed by speed damage. And then over time, it will increase its move speed if it is less than the max move speed, and increase it over time by the amount of speed recover. Alright, now let's scroll to the bottom of our code and take a look at function onTriggerStay that we're going to be adding. So we have function onTriggerStay and then variable other of type collider. So it's going to remember the collider that we entered into, and this is going to return every frame that we stay inside of another collision. And in our case, we are only testing to make sure the collision has a tag of enemy, and that the collision that we entered into is not the enemy itself. Alright, so let's take a look at the first if statement that is inside of function onTriggerStay. So we have if other.tag equals enemy, and other.gameObject does not equal gameObject. So, first of all, we're taking a look at other, the collider that we came into a collision with, and then we're accessing the tag that is attached to the game object that collider was attached to. And then we're saying if it equals enemy, then we will have known that we came into collision with another enemy. And then we need to make sure that that enemy that we came into a collision with is not the enemy that this particular script is attached to. So we need to put in and other.gameObject does not equal gameObject. So other.gameObject is referring to the game object that the other collider was attached to, and when we write gameObject by itself right here, we are referring to the game object that this script is attached to. Alright, now we have inside of this if statement, if current move speed is larger than min move speed, current move speed minus equal speed damage. So first of all, we're just making sure that the current move speed is larger than the minimum move speed, because we are going to be reducing the current move speed, and we only want to do that if the current move speed is currently larger than the minimum move speed, so that we don't get lower than the min move speed. And then we have simply down here, current move speed minus equal speed damage. Alright, next we have a line of code right here, and what this line of code is going to do is it's going to move the enemies away from each other. So the way we do that is transform.position plus equal, and then in parentheses, transform.position minus equal other.transform.position. Now remember, we were using this, I believe, let's see, where is a good example of it? Right up here when we were moving it towards the doors in the randomized vector. When we minus transform.position, or the position of the enemy, away from the other enemy, then essentially the position of the enemy that we're looking at currently becomes 0, 0, 0, and then the other position is relative to that. So now we have a vector 3 that is pointing away from the enemy that we came into contact with. And then when we write dot normalized, we give that vector 3 a magnitude of 1, and then we multiply it by a small number such as 0.1, so that the enemy will just move in small increments until it exits out of the other enemy's collision. Alright, so that's all the code that we need in place to actually make the enemy slow down and move out of the way of other enemies when it comes into contact with other enemies. Now we need the code in place to actually make the enemy speed back up when there's no other enemies around and it has room to move. So, all we need in place is up here inside of the update loop. Let me scroll back to it. We have if current move speed is smaller than max move speed, current move speed plus equal speed recover times time dot delta time. So if our current move speed is smaller than the maximum amount of move speed that we want to allow the enemy to move at, then we are going to increase current move speed by speed recover, and then we're going to multiply that by time dot delta time so that it increases by speed recover per second. So that is in accordance to real time and not the number of frames per second that the computer is running at. And then we have down here simply if current move speed is larger than max move speed, current move speed equal max move speed, and these two lines are in place just to make sure the current move speed doesn't exceed the maximum move speed for whatever reason, to make sure the enemy doesn't go faster than we want it to. So that is all the code I believe that we need. So now I'm going to cut the green screen and go into Unity and show you how to do that inside of Unity. Alright, here we are inside of Unity, and now let's just give a quick demonstration of how the enemies are behaving right now. So I'm going to move my guy over. I missed the door. There we go. Okay. So well, first of all, let me open up this door for the enemies so they can all follow me. And you should be able to see them pass through each other. It's a little hard to spot because they're a little bit spread out. Now they're definitely passing through each other. And there you can see they pass through each other quite a few times. Alright, so that's a good enough of a demonstration. Now let's actually figure out how to fix that inside of the enemy movement script. So first of all, we need to add our variables, which are, what is it? Max, move, speed, float, and let's have this equal, what's our current move speed set at? 5? Let's have it be 5. And then we need our minimum move speed. And let's have that equal, I don't know, 1. And now we need, what was it, speed damage? And let's have it equal 0.5. And what was the last one? Speed recover. Can't type right now for some reason. Okay, speed recover. And let's have that equal 1. And I believe that is all the variables that we need in place right now. So now let's create a function on trigger stay. So I'm going to, out of laziness, copy and paste this. And I'm just going to change the word enter to stay. What the fuck? Okay. Stay. Usually I try not to curse in my tutorials.
See the FPS Russia had to get bleeped. He can't swear in his videos anymore.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Stop distracting me. I'm doing a tutorial. FPS Russia is really funny though. Okay, what do I need to do? Alright, I need an if statement. So if the tag, so hit trigger. So I guess over here I use the word other. Wait, let me scroll down to the part. I use the word other. And in here apparently I use the word hit trigger, but whatever word you use, it doesn't really matter. Dot tag equals enemy. And where's my and symbol? There it is. And hit trigger dot game object does not equal game object. So if we came in contact with a trigger and that trigger has a tag of enemy and that trigger is not the trigger that this script is attached to. And if that is the case, we're going to check to see if the current move speed is smaller, or wait, no, larger than the min move speed. Bash. Come on. And if that is the case, then we are going to have min move speed minus equal, not min move speed, what am I thinking? Current move speed. There we go. So if the current, or we're going to minus from the current move speed, speed damage. And then we are going to have transform dot position plus equal, and then in parentheses transform dot position minus hit trigger dot transform dot position. And then we are going to normalize that. Normalized. There we go. So from here, basically we have a vector 3 that is pointing away from the enemy that we came in contact with. And then we have it normalized, so it has a magnitude of 1. And then we are going to multiply that by 0.1 so that it just moves in very small increments until it gets out of the way of the other enemy. So I think, let me just double check. I believe our, yep, that looks like it's all set up. So our onTriggerStay function is all set up. Now let's go inside of the update loop. So function update. So if current move speed is smaller than max move speed, we are going to have current move speed recover. So current move speed plus equal speed recover times, where the hell is it? There it goes. Okay, times time dot delta time. And now we want to make sure that we limit the current move speed to be smaller than the max move speed. So current moves, if current move speed is larger than the max move speed, then we're going to simply have the current move speed equal the max move speed. Alright, and give that a save, and I believe it is all set to go, so let's give it a test run. Wow, this is like the first time I actually started it and I didn't get any errors. That's amazing. Alright, you know what, actually, the enemies are moving so slowly right now. Let's adjust them. And let's set the max move speed to, I don't know, 10. And the current move speed to 10. And let's just give that a try. And I also, you know, I want double the amount of enemies. So I'm going to duplicate them. And I should be able to, yeah, just move them over. That looks like it'll work. Screw it, let's make it a ton of enemies. Alright. that should be enough enemies to test whether the system is working or not. So let's give that a run. It's a little hard to see, but it looks like none of them are passing through each other. Yep, they're definitely not passing through each other. Their movements are a little bit jaggedy, or a little bit, I don't want to say glitchy, because they're moving the way I want to, so it's not a glitch. But they are a little bit jumpy and jaggedy in the way they move, which is actually perfectly okay. They're also going up in the air a little bit, which is also okay. Because later on, we're going to be adding a body that just follows the enemy. And now I have an error going on, unassigned reference exception. What's going on here? Door checking now. I don't know why I'm getting an error, but it seems to be working perfectly. Is it because I have the door opened? Oh, wow. They really want to eat me right now. Okay. Ha! You are all trapped behind the door now. You can't get me. Okay. Well, I want to figure out what this error is, even though it doesn't seem to be affecting anything. So, for var checking now. What is it saying? I hate it when this happens. Oh, it's coming from this guy. Okay, I figured out the source of that error. These two guys were in the wall like that, and I had to move them out of the wall. And as soon as I did that, the errors went away. So now I don't have any more errors. So that was the problem. There's nothing wrong with the code. So, yep, looks like everything's working. So, until my next episode, I'll see you guys later, and keep making games.